It's time for your daily LSU baseball update with Musso at the box. Now, Matt Musso.
And welcome into another edition of Musso at the Box. LSU loses back-to-back games for the first time in the 2024 season. They dropped the series to the Florida Gators, run their record to 19-6 and 2-4 in the Southeastern Conference. We have a lot to get to today. That was certainly disappointing. There is absolutely no way around it. LSU has run-ruled for the second consecutive week on a Sunday to lose a series in a rubber match. That is, again, certainly very disappointing. Now, the thing is, the outcome of the weekends is the same. The way you got there is very different. And that leads me to what I believe one of LSU's biggest issues is currently. And we will get into that. We're going to start with game number 3. We'll go through some of the high points, key moments of that. That will not be a very long recap because after the 5th inning, the game was over. But we'll go through it, and we might touch on a couple things from Friday and Saturday, but we really covered those already in our immediate reaction. So there will be some points that I want to go through on that because ultimately this weekend started out so positively, and there are still a lot of good things to take from it, but with the way that it ended, it's really hard to see the forest through the trees, right? It's really hard to do that right now. We're going to do our best, but at the end, we have to also kind of be honest with where this team is right now, and they're struggling. There is no way around it. Now, all that being said, y'all, it's March 20. It's March. Depending on when you're listening to this, it's March. You got a long way to go. Is this the start that anyone wanted to see? No. Is this the start that anyone would have predicted? No. But it's where you are. So, looking at this from a sky is falling angle, that's not what we're going to do here. Because that's not where you are. But we can also sit back and say, while it's March, while you now have 24 more SEC games to go, you're not in a great spot, and you got a lot of work to do to put yourself in a better one. That's more of how you need to look at this. It's a long season, but they got a long way to go. All right. Smash the like button if you have not already. Get subscribed to the podcast if you have not already. Subscribe up to the YouTube channel if you have not already. All of that is greatly appreciated. Let's dive into Sunday's game. So after on our live immediate reaction from game number 2, talked about what LSU would need to get the job done on Sunday and how, look, y'all, there's still plenty. There's still plenty of arms left for LSU because of the depth that you have, but certain guys are going to have to step up. And I know you can look at it and say, well, what about the offense? And that's very fair. But the reason I want to focus in on the pitching is twofold. Number one, that's going to be the strength of this team. I mean, that is the strength of this team. We can't say it any more than we've already said it. And number 2, with the offense that you were facing, if you didn't execute on the mound, they could put you in a hole real quick. And ultimately, it wasn't real quick, but ultimately that's what happened. So you had plenty left, but you needed guys to step up. First on that list was Thatcher Hurd. What you saw from LSU this weekend, whether it was Luke Holman, whether it was Gage Jump, you saw both of those guys take things that they struggled with against Mississippi State, correct them, work on them, correct them, and bring them to the field this weekend and really pitch incredibly well. So could Thatcher Hurd do that? And early on, the answer was yes. He gets himself into a little bit of trouble early in the game, in the first inning, right? I mean, you have runners, you have 2 runners on, a double, a Caglione fly out of between, then a walk, and then you have a mound visit, a really good mound visit there in that spot, and he strikes out Luke Heyman swinging, really attacks him and strikes him out swinging on a 1-2 count. And that was awesome. You're going to have a little bit of time, to kind of feel out Jack Caglione, if you're LSU, you end up getting 2 walks late in the bottom of the first inning. They don't come around to, you can't get the big hit. You strand the runners. It's fine. It's the first inning. You had a great 3-up, 3-down inning from Thatcher Hurd in the second. This was really kind of the first moment in the game in the bottom half where it's like, man, you really needed one there if you're LSU. Ethan Fry walks. Michael Braswell comes up and hits a rocket to third base. Dale Thomas leaps, grabs it. Braswell out. He tries to double off Fry at first, does too much, and throws the ball up the first base line. Fry makes it all the way around to third base. And this, I will go back to our preview and highlight this part that we said. The Florida Gators, coming into this weekend, were the number 1 fielding team in America. They came into this weekend fielding 986, and we sat right here in this room, in this chair, and said, if they give you a gift this weekend, you have to take advantage of it because you're not going to get many. You got one right there. You had a runner at third base with less than 2 outs. Paxton Clean comes up, strikes out. Brady Neal comes up, flies out to center field. That cannot happen. Like, you have to be able to move the ball there. You have to move the offense. Those 2 at-bats are not going to be used, as an example of what to do, rather what not to do. And that's just kind of the feeling out process that you're still in. And I know a lot of you don't want to hear that because a lot of you want Paxton Clean just out of this lineup. And I understand where you're coming from on that. But right now, he's in there. And if he's in there, he has a job to do. Right there, it wasn't done. Same thing for Brady Neal right there. It wasn't done. And that's a big spot in that ball game where you were given a gift. There's so many ways a guy can score from third base, and you couldn't get the run home. And that's the big first, star moment in the ball game. In the third, you had another nice inning from Hurd, pitches around a single. LSU goes rather weakly in the fourth inning. Another great inning from Thatcher Hurd. He's working through the lineup a second time here. Works around a hit by pitch, hangs another 0. LSU, you finally break through here in the bottom half. After a flyout from Travinsky, Pearson beats the shift. It was a beautiful backside double down the third base line. Fry comes up, singles through the left side. We're going to talk about him, by the way. Comes up, singles through the left side. They go to hold Pearson up, but the left fielder, Shelnut, misplays the ball. It goes under his glove, so Pearson comes in to score, and you're up 1-0. And at that point, you also have Fry on first. A walk to Braswell moves him over, and you're once again at Kling and Neal at the bottom of the order, less than 2 outs and 2 men on. This is a spot where you really, really need a big hit, and you had 2 strikeouts instead, and that ends the inning, and that was the last time LSU posed any type of threat in this ball game, was the bottom of the 4th inning. That is the last time. Would you have loved to have had the big hit? Sure. Absolutely. We just established that. You didn't get it. But you broke through. And that's important too. Now it flips to the top of the 5th inning. You have to hang the 0. And instead, a guy hitting 138, LSU goes breaking ball, falls behind 2-0, comes with a fastball, 2-1, has to lay another one in there, and a kid hitting 138 hits this little Texas leaguer to right field and gets on to start that inning. You get the strikeout of the 9-hole guy, and then Colby Shelton, who LSU held in check incredibly all weekend, finally got one to hit and drove it over the wall, and it's 2-1. That's fine. You can make that up. You just have to get out of it from there. But it clearly shook him up. And, you have the single to Evans, or this Evans singles, I should say. You get the ground out from Caglione, you're still 1 out away. You're 1 out away from getting out of this at 2-1. They lose Shelnut, 4-pitch walk after a mound visit. And Evans advances to third on what they ruled a wild pitch. I remember it being more of a pass ball, but whatever. We'll go with the official ruling there, wild pitch. And then Heyman doubles, scoring 2, 4-1. You pull Hurd, go get Anderson. Curlin homers, 2-run shot. It's 6-1. The game is over. I know that sounds like a very negative outlook on it because it's the 5th inning and whatnot, but the fact is the big hit eluded LSU for the second half of the game on Saturday and all of the game on Sunday. You had Jack Caglione on the mound. He was pitching very well, and Brandon Neely was going to come into the game at some point, and he's the best closer in America. There is not another closer on any team in the country that I would take over Brandon Neely. So with that young man lurking down there and the way LSU struggling to get the big hit at 6-1 in the 5th inning, the game was over. Like that was kind of the feeling. And you also knew kind of what you had in the back, or left in the bullpen for LSU, where, yes, there's plenty of talent, plenty of potential, but guys were going to have to step up. And against that lineup, it was going to be tough. And ultimately that proved true as Florida wasn't done. They'd score 2 more in the 6th, a 4 spot in the 8th, and run rule LSU 12-2. And that is how the game ended. So, look, the two things, really the first big thing that sticks out Sunday, the inability to get the big hit. And both times you're at the bottom of the order, and both times it was less than 2 outs, and out of the 4 at-bats, 3 of them were strikeouts. That's not what you want. Paxton Kling and Brady Neal are 2 of the players on this team that have the highest upside. That's not debatable. It's just not going well for them right now. That's not to say it can't later down the road, but it's just not going well for them right now. So how do you fix that right now? One guy that needs to be in this lineup every day right now for me is Ethan Fry, and I don't really think that's debatable. We talked about that on Friday night in the immediate reaction to that game because Ethan Fry was awesome. He was 2 for 4, had an RBI, got the start in DH. It was great. And that was also one of LSU's most complete offensive games of the entire season. Not saying it's all has to do with Ethan Fry. Don't misunderstand me. It's just one of theirs. And you show up to the ballpark on Saturday, and Ethan Fry's not in the starting lineup. He gets 1 pinch hit, and then he's lifted. Like, for me, when you're looking for somebody right now to come up and get a hit and get on base, you have a guy at number 33 right now. And it's a real easy fix. I know he's not ready to throw the ball from the outfield. That's fine. DH him and let Travinsky catch. That's a real easy fix. It gets you a bat who's been clutch for you right now. And what's been really impressive about Ethan Fry is he has stepped right back into SEC play and done this. That is extremely difficult to do. I want number 33 in the lineup every day from here on out. And when he's ready to throw the ball from the outfield, you give him a shot out there too and see. And then you can start working in Milazzo again behind the plate, Brady Neal behind the plate. The other thing is Stephen Milam needs to stay in the lineup. He needs to stay in the lineup. Like, your best outfield right now defensively is Bingham, Kling, Pearson. Josh Pearson was going to play second base out of necessity for this team. It's not necessary anymore. And Stephen Milam finally looked like he was getting the bat back. He had the 1 hit on Saturday, but he stung the ball a couple of other times. Like, he was finally starting to see it again, and he's out of the lineup on a Sunday. I'm sure Jay Johnson has his reasons. I don't understand them for that. Yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. They saw a matchup. All of this is matchup. You had a lefty on the mound. Maybe it had something to do there where they're looking at splits for Milam, and it hasn't been as great for him from the right side of the plate. Fine, whatever. That I can understand that. But I also think you've seen guys establish themselves enough now that you should be able to run a similar lineup out there more often than not at this point in the season with what you've seen from guys on this team. So, you're looking for people to get the big hit. You've got plenty of guys who can do that. You just have to get them in there in the right spots. And hopefully hopefully they're on the right track to doing that, because that was one of the things that was most disappointing for this weekend about this weekend for me is LSU, from an offensive standpoint, really looked like they were getting on track and turning the corner. And Saturday and Sunday, it just wasn't there. I mean, look, you had the 3 solo home runs on Saturday. That's great. Solo homers aren't going to win you a ball game. It's just not. Paul Maneri used to say that all the time. Yeah, we gave up a home run here, a home run there, but they were both solo, and that's not going to beat you, and it never did. That goes into scattering hits. So, I loved seeing Jared Jones almost clear the bleachers in right field, opposite field on Saturday night. It was great, but ultimately it didn't really matter in that point. On the mound, LSU's going to get a really bad rap this weekend on the mound, and it's not deserved. LSU pitched well this weekend. They did. To me, that's not really debate. I get it. They got run ruled on Sunday, and that's going to really drag down the numbers for this team pitching-wise this week. But the job they did for 2/3 of this weekend against the Florida lineup was awesome. It was. I mean, you go back to Friday night, the 0 for 14, 12 strikeouts for the top 4 in that order, awesome. For the first 17 innings of this series, LSU had given up 3 earned runs against that lineup. That's great. You saw Holman bounce back. You saw Hurd bounce back. You saw Jump bounce back, and you saw Hurd on his way to bouncing back. He just couldn't prevent it from spiraling on him in the 5th inning. And I know a lot of you are going to say, well, take him out. It doesn't always work that way, right? The guy's mowing. You're not going to just, you're not just going to have somebody up at all times when he's out there doing his job. It's a tough spot to get caught in. LSU got caught in that. Pitching-wise, they were really good. I thought Gavin Guidry was really good on Saturday night. I thought Nate Ackenhausen was really, really good on Saturday night. Yeah, he was trying to go through a lineup a 3rd time. Caglione's a great player. Big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games, big-time moments. That's what he did. Kid hit a rocket, 116 miles per hour off the bat to right center field. I'm a lot less concerned about that and more concerned about what happened that got you to that point on Saturday night. And we went through that. But what was disappointing started in the 8th inning when you had the drop 3rd strike, which would have gotten you out of the inning, and Jay Johnson in his postgame brought it right back to that moment too. Excuse me. And he called it the worst rule in baseball, and he's not wrong, but it's a rule. But it's a rule. And it's a horrible rule. I mean, it goes down in the book as a strikeout, yet you don't get the out in the inning. That logically, that actually makes no sense at all. So yes, it's a terrible rule, but it is the rule. And I don't really want to rehash all of this again, but that is what led to that started the chain reaction that led to you losing that ball game. That got another hitter to the plate. That instead of having 7, 8, 9 due up in the 9th inning, you now had 8, 9, and 1. Like, that allowed you to flip the lineup. Then you get to the 9th inning and you walk a batter that had not had a hit all season long, and that gets you to Ty Evans, who ultimately tied the game, and it kept going and going and going. If you want the full synopsis of game number 2, go find the immediate reaction video. We went through all of it. This is what I will say is LSU's biggest problem to this point. This team, they're good. They're very talented. They're struggling right now. And one reason is they lack something that a team like Florida has. And it's not talent. It's not, potential. It's not any of that. Florida is now 14-9. They're 5 games above 500. Yet they have not lost a weekend. they find a way to win. LSU so far through this season has lacked the ability to find a way to win when things aren't going your way. And that's a problem. And for me, it's their biggest problem. Like, LSU was in control of that game on Saturday night. They couldn't close. Florida had no momentum going for them at all. Gavin Guidry's out there pounding the zone, just shoving. Florida, a great lineup, found a way to get two guys on base, chase Guidry from the game. Ultimately, you get a break with the drop third strike. But that set that whole chain reaction in the way, and then you had a big hit from Ty Evans. You had a big hit from Jack Caglione, right? Last year, LSU had that ability to find a way to win. We talked about it all the time, called it why the team was so versatile. They could show up to the ballpark and beat you in a different way every single day. You know, Florida this year in this series came in and everybody's looking at the pitching staff going, they're not very good. We gave you a bunch of examples here in the preview of, why they are, with Luke McNeely starting to turn a corner. That proved true. He was awesome on Saturday. Brandon Neely starting to turn the corner. That proved true. He was the reigning national pitcher of the week and was awesome again this week. You credit Liam Peterson, the Saturday starter. I thought that was the day LSU had the biggest advantage because you got a freshman on the road, on his first road trip in the SEC, and it's at LSU. Credit him. He wasn't awesome. He gave up 3 solo homers. He wasn't awesome, but he never allowed LSU to have a big inning. He made pitches when he had to. How many times did LSU do that last year, right? See what I mean? I'm not trying to compare these teams. I'm just using what they were able to do well as examples of where I see this team kind of struggling in a sense to win at all costs, to have the ability to win when it's not going your way. And that can be making a huge pitch when you don't have your best stuff. Like, a great example of that would have been in that 5th inning. And look, I think by now if y'all listen to this show, y'all know how high I am on a guy like Thatcher Hurd. So I'm not picking on him. That's just a big spot there. You get out of that with the 2 runs. That's a rough inning for you, but you're finding a way to win without having it, right? That's something I haven't really seen from this team. The first game against Southeastern sticks out as an example where they did do that. So if you can do that more consistently, that's how you start to string it together when you're struggling. That's how you get out of this funk that they're in right now. Now, this is the part that I've been dreading. I'd like to sit here and tell you that it's about to be better. It's not. You're probably going to have a really rough time in Fayetteville this weekend. That's why this is going to hurt. It's probably going to get worse before it gets better, but it will get better. The more this team plays together, the more things will start to happen, will start to go. The more they can figure each other out, the more Jay can figure it out offensively, because they got to go back to the drawing board there. Like, it really felt like they were on the uptick. Saturday and Sunday kind of wiped that out. You got to go back to the drawing board there. But the more they can kind of figure it out a little bit, back to the drawing board, I don't think the answer is that hard to find. We just went through that. But the more they figure it out, the better they will play. It's just going to be really hard to figure that out against Hagen Smith and Brady Tigert and Mason Molina. Arkansas didn't hit the ball great. They don't. But boy, do they pitch it. So we're going to see. It's baseball. Anything can happen. But right now, understand it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. But there are brighter days ahead for this team. They will figure it out. They have the right people in charge to do that. You wait it out until they do. So, look, it's a really disappointing start for LSU in conference play. I certainly didn't have them 2-4. I know many of you didn't either. The loss this weekend to Florida only magnifies what happened in Starkville the week before, and it's hard to be positive. But there were good things this weekend. I thought Jared Jones had a really nice weekend at the plate. I thought Mac Bingham had a really nice first 2 days at the plate as well, which was something we wanted to see from him. You just lacked that big hit and kind of win at all costs mentality. And it bit you a couple times, Saturday especially. And I said it after the game Saturday. I thought they handled it like the way Jay went to manage that game was perfect. They went all in. They were going to win the series there. And that is absolutely what you should do. That's the attacking mentality. That's the conviction that he talked about, that we talked about, that we wanted to see from them as a coaching staff and as a team. They went for it. Didn't work out. So you get back in the lab, get back to work, play Southeastern on Tuesday, pack your bags, you head to Fayetteville and see if you can prove a lot of people wrong this weekend. We're going to have you covered wall-to-wall here on Musso at the Box. You know that, so get subscribed up to the YouTube channel. Get subscribed up on your favorite podcast app. Share the links. Share the videos. All that greatly appreciated. Smash the like button. All that greatly appreciated. And be here next time on Musso at the Box.